Do you do any of that? This kind of stuff on your edit?
No, none whatsoever.
What do you do? How do you do the audio levels?
I just fiddle with the levels, look at it in the Premiere thing, listen to it. Well, like, yeah, it sounds about right.
Fair enough. I heard that bad audio is the best way to get people to not listen to your podcast. So
it is. It's probably we'll look at the metrics from all the even-numbered ones and see a marked decline.
I have. To be fair, I think you have been doing potentially a better job because I just went into the podcast and the ones that you edit are always louder than mine, but that's a good thing because mine have actually been below the YouTube thing.
Oh, right. It's just been pure luck, to be honest. I fiddle with the levels and listen to it in the car and then...
Hello and welcome back to the Scrambled Checksum podcast. My name is Ethan, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Kieran. Say hello, Kieran.
Hello, Kieran.
Very nice. It's been another couple of weeks in the wonderful world of planet Earth, technology, and all things tech and stuff. I kind of bumbled at the end. And me and Kieran have had some ups, some downs. And I understand that Kieran's had some particular downs with a certain craft adjacent marketplace. Would you care to air your grievances, Kieran?
I'm peeved.
So I hear.
I'm incredibly peeved. I was actually... this will be more relevant to Ethan, but I was so mad I left a review, and I never leave reviews. I never leave a review. Which now I'm feeling bad about, because actually I should leave more like positive reviews if I have a good experience. But you know what it's like? Like I ordered a pizza a couple of weeks ago, and they're like, "Oh, please review your delivery." And it's like, am I really going to spend the time to do that?
That reminds me, one of my friends asked me to write them a reference the other day, and I haven't done it yet.
I thought you were saying they asked me to write you a review.
No, it wasn't it.
Yeah, so one of my friends is starting an Amazon business, and they asked me to write him a few fake reviews. I didn't actually purchase the product, but...
Yeah, but I'm sure it's fine. I trust them. Yeah, I met them in the pub the other day. They seemed trustworthy. Yeah,
it was an electronic product that plugs into the mains, but like...
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that anybody you meet in a pub and have a few drinks with is generally trustworthy.
The more drinks, the better.
Yeah, you never meet anybody dodgy in a pub.
Trust goes up with volume of drinks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, you reviewed your friend, and, you know, I assume 10 of the 10 would employ.
Oh, yeah. So this review that you wrote, was this a review of a seller on Etsy, or was it a review of Etsy itself?
It was a review of it wasn't Etsy. Well, I'm not going to let them off the hook that easy, actually. It was a review of an item that I purchased.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you know, but Etsy's, you probably do actually, but like Etsy's thing is always, it's like either handmade or like assembled or like curated.
Well, according to the advert that I actually received today for Etsy on YouTube, is their products are made by real people. Are you a real person? I think so.
That's the thing. Their thing used to be that it was only handmade or vintage. But their messaging has changed recently.
Well, there's a lot of stuff on there that's not handmade as such, but technically, like, I guess, like 3D printed stuff. I understood their USP to be like basically makers.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
So like people who are making stuff at home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually not. So I've read the TOS. That's how serious I got.
Oh, Jesus.
With how peeved I was.
Okay.
And it's I believe, made by hand. So I think that would include like 3D printed stuff that someomes made it, like you say, makers.
But you're now going to tell me that it also includes stuff that's made in a sweatshop in China.
Well,
allegedly.
The other option you've got is that it's curated. So someone's put together like a box of stuff in like an artful way, and it has to be like curated as their thing, so you can't just sell like a box of...
Well, so they could it be like they bought a load of stuff off AliExpress and then just put it in a nice wicker basket with some nice...
From my reading of the TOS, yeah. It can be mass produced and you can assemble it. You can't do stuff like... You'd have to be careful with it. You can't do stuff like, buy, for instance, like a bunch of Cadbury chocolate, put it in a box and say, it's selection of English chocolate.
I guess you have to have like certain compliance things for selling food.
It's not even that. It's more just because it was all from the same brand, I guess. Anyway, they did that as an example. or it had to be vintage, which is like, I think they give the criteria of over so many years old.
I found this chocolate whilst cleaning out my granddad's house. It was under his bed that's been there since the 1950s.
I'll have you know, this chocolate's so far out of date, it's technically vintage.
Yeah. It's...
When I sell my collection of English sweets and chocolate, every single one of those is way past its sell-by date.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm fine, Etsy.
Collection of vintage sweets and chocolate.
Yeah. A selection of vintage dairy products.
Oh.
Vintage milk. We got vintage yogurt.
Jesus. I wonder whether that would have actually like decayed so much that it had gone past the smell point and just wouldn't smell anymore. Because like maybe all the bacteria would have just fed on everything it could possibly have fed on. So it's all just happened. It doesn't smell anymore. Experiments to be had. I'm going to bury a bottle of milk in my garden and then dig it up in 50 years and see what happens.
I don't know if burying it would do the same though, because like worms and stuff would eat it. I think you'd have to leave it in your room.
Oh no! I was thinking like bury it in like a time capsule sort of thing.
Oh okay, yeah, like seal it up.
Yeah,
I still think it could be like a regular...
we've just found this time capsule. I wonder how it's from all this time ago. I wonder what pictures are going to be in it. It's some rancid milk.
Oh, it's gotten worse. His theory was that it would eventually decay to nothing, but actually it just got exponentially worse over time.
Oh well.
I thought this would be a fun like callback on the podcast. You could just leave it sitting on your windowsill or something.
Oh, Jesus.
And then every other week you just report on how much worse it's gotten.
I'm actually starting to feel a little sick just thinking about it.
See your health decay over time. Right, so getting away from the vintage yogurts then. So I hadn't bought vintage yogurts. So there's an upcoming event, a steampunk event in the local area. And I'll be getting on my train to go to this event, then the boat, then the plane, as you know, when you go to any events.
Yeah.
And I needed a piece of clothing for it, and I don't like to buy off of like Amazon. And it was specific enough in terms of what I was looking for that like I couldn't just find something similar in like a high street shop.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's like if you, it's hard to find clothing that's like not what you would find that you'd be able to find on like the high street, that isn't just like costume stuff where it's like just polyester crap
quality.
Yeah, it's like I've got like, it's going to be a warm day because it'll still be well, hopefully it'll be a warm day anyway. I don't want to just wear like a bunch of polyester, so I was like, I'll go on Etsy and I'll be able to purchase something safe in the knowledge that it's not just something that I've bought off Amazon, because that's what was coming up when you search. When I was searching, it was just like Amazon or Temu. I was like, I don't want to buy from them, so I'll go to Etsy.
Like a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Like their new advert with the animated.
Oh Jesus, yeah, I forgot about that.
Feels like a dream, feels like magic. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, with the Disney princess style character.
Yeah, exactly. The advert with the theming is knocked off as most of the... no. Anyway.
Allegedly.
Anyway, so I found a product on Temu that matched what I was looking for. Not on Temu, what am I talking about? On Etsy, the match what I was looking for. And I was like, oh, you know what? I feel like buying it from Etsy. They were a UK seller. So I was like, oh, you know what? This is perfect. I don't mind paying a bit more for something that's like better quality. It arrived in time, and I was like, I was having a look at the page, and the reviews were good for the item. Reviews were good for the seller. It had an Etsy top reviewed badge, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm like, wow, okay, that all looks good. Photos looked good. They weren't just like photo on a white background, so no telltale sign there of any problems. There was more than one. I was like, okay, looks legit. Sizing was okay. Again, you know, another thing to check. And I was like, oh, and it was on sale. And it was reduced from like £58 down to like 32. With like a timer on it of like, oh, ends in 1 day or something. And I was like, oh, you know, I'll get it. It's on sale. Yeah. So I ordered it. Anyway, the beginning of my peeving journey was when it arrived, and it arrived at the same time as another package that I was expecting that had come from the US. Yeah. And anyway, I had the two, and I was like, hang on a minute. there's something off about this shipping label
on
this item. And I saw like the name of this carrier, and I was like, that's a bit weird. So then I Googled it, and it's a China Post carrier.
Maybe they reused the label.
It had my address on it.
Maybe they sent you something before.
Yeah, so it came via Every, but it had this like China courier on the top.
Yeah.
And there was a label behind it that was clearly like the domestic, like, you know, when you ship something abroad, it gets the shipping label on it in your country, and then they stick the other one on top.
Yeah.
So the one on top still had the Chinese carrier name on it. So I was like, this is a bit funny. And so I opened it, and you know that smell of like plastic?
Yeah.
That you get with stuff that's like, that's been like cheaply made.
Yeah.
It was like that exact smell as soon as I opened this jiffy bag.
Smells like quality.
You could smell the quality.
Yeah. So
I took a deep inhale of that quality, and the shirt was like folded, and it was in like, it was a shirt, by the way, and it was in like a clear cellophane, like plastic. That like...
I put all my homemade items in that.
Exactly, just like it was clearly made in a factory.
Yeah.
So I'm pissed at this point. And so I have a think about it, and then I'm like, the item wasn't bad quality. So I was like, how do I negotiate this review here? So then I looked at the seller's profile, because I was like, okay, maybe they did say, and I just didn't look at the description close enough. And I start reading their about section of their profile, and it's really weirdly written.
Yeah. And
I was like, this is a bit strange. Anyway, ran it through a AI checker, 100% AI generated.
Nice.
So that was good. ChatGPT special on the about page, and it was mentioning all this crap about how they like handcrafted it was like every item gets their handmade touch to make it just so, and all this bollocks. I was like, this is kind of weirdly written.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was ChatGPT. It wasn't Claude. Claude wouldn't have generated that nonsense.
Claude is sacred.
I trust Claude.
Claude is God.
Claude is sacred. Claude wouldn't have written that crap. No. So I'm like, that pissed me off even more. Because I'm like, you haven't even written your own damn description or edited out the bits that are lies. So I left a 2-star review, and I basically said, the item's okay, but I was a bit disappointed that it was drop shipped direct from China, when, you know, I'm expecting it to be handmade. And I basically said, like, you know, if you're fine with that, whatever, the item's all right, but I think it's overpriced for something that you could probably find on... I had a look, and I found what I think is the same item on AliExpress for like half the price.
Yeah.
Obviously. That's including delivery as well. So it's not like that's a factor. So I'm like, it's clearly drop shipped. If you're fine with that, whatever, go ahead and order it. The item quality is fine. But if you want to look on AliExpress, you'll find it probably a lot cheaper. And then the seller messaged me.
Ooh.
Directly. Not publicly. Privately. And they were like...
What the fuck, dude?
They were like, hello, sorry you're disappointed. I'm surprised to read this, along these lines. I'll give you a full refund if you take the review down. So...
What did you do?
So obviously I immediately took the review down. No, I was like, because then they also... they sent me this message at like 10:30 at night. So I was like, I don't want to read this email or whatever. I'm not interested in reading what they messaged me about at 10:30. I'll wait till the next day.
Yeah.
And then an hour later, they also responded publicly to my review and trashed me, basically. They were like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you're clearly another seller leaving this fake review to trash my reputation. Like, sorry, like, I don't know why you've got like a problem with stuff that's made in China. And then they were like, my advice, try better next time and be creative.
Wait,
so like the next day I saw that response as well as their message, and I was freaking pissed.
Yeah, I think I would be as well.
I was like furious. I was so mad. So I sent them a response. You can't respond to seller responses on Etsy, on reviews.
That's stupid.
I know, so it sucks. So it's my review, and then they can put whatever they like below it, and then that's the end of it. I can't put anything else publicly. I can't even edit my review to say, edit, they offered me a refund if I got rid of it, because they've responded.
Yeah.
So once the seller responds to your review, you can't edit it, which really sucks, because I wanted to go on and edit it and be like, oh, by the way, they did this. So I basically messaged them back, and I was like, thanks for the offer of the refund, the review stays. I don't want it. Keep your refund.
Yeah.
And then I was like, look, I'm pretty disappointed to read that you basically called me a liar and said that I don't like Chinese people. For the record, I got no problem with Chinese manufacturing. What I don't like is being sold something that's dropshipped and being told that it's handmade.
In the UK.
And I was like, look, I was quite proud of this. So I was like, you advised me to be creative in your public response to my review. Can I suggest that you do the same when you put in AI generated text in your description and you edit out the bits that aren't true? I was so mad at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, then they responded again to my reply. This is direct message, and they were like, oh, I felt it was a personal attack. And I was like, what? I said nothing personal. I said that the item was dropshipped, and anyway, they said that they thought my review was a personal attack, which is why they put that response. And then they offered me my money back again. And then they were like, they sent this really weird comment about oh, well, I don't care if my Etsy business goes away. There's plenty of stuff for people to choose from anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. And then they were like, oh, I'll send you a photo of our studio where we hand make all the items if it'll put your mind at ease.
No, it won't.
And it's like, no, because you're just going to find some photo on Google and send it to me. And then what? I've then got to call you a liar again, which you are. And I was furious. I've reported them to Etsy as a seller as well, because the whole trying to bribe me to get rid of the review is not good. I actually saw the other day that someone else has left basically the same review I did, who was also disappointed on another one of their items, and they've responded in the same way to them.
Nice.
Luckily, that person managed to edit their review before they responded and said they basically tried to pay me to take this down.
Nice.
But I'm like, how brazen do you have to be to just dropship something and then just call everyone liars? I guess it's the best way to handle it, because what else do you do? But yeah, so I've reported them to Etsy. I expect nothing will happen because the whole site's full of this stuff from the sound of it, and it's just made me not want to. It's made me very skeptical of buying anything from there that isn't from someone who I've already seen as a maker on another platform. So I'm like, what do you think, dude? Is the site would you trust it now?
I mean, it's not the first I've heard about something like this happening.
No, same.
I don't know whether it's widespread. I mean, okay, let's just give me a random item that you might look for on Etsy. Oh,
so this is the challenge, because it's certain categories from what I've seen are really bad and some aren't. So clothing's horrendous for it.
Okay, so let's say, should we just search t-shirt?
Oh, a t-shirt will be 100% print on demand. I think you'll be hard pressed to find a.
I'm going to go t-shirt. I'm going to go click on the first result, Etsy's pick. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down. So what does this say? Interesting. So this actually says designed by Mahika Design.
Oh, that's the other thing. T-shirts will be full of AI designs. Because there'll be a bunch of designs there that real people haven't done.
My small local artists. And you purchase something from my shop, you are helping support me as an artist, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank you for choosing a small shop over a store that mass produces products. See, now I'm reading this as a right. Okay.
So now you're like, do I believe this?
Apparently, they're called Stefan. Apparently,
well, this is the thing. This person was a person's name, and then now you stuck. Now it makes me skeptical of everyone on there, which I don't like. I don't want to have to not trust anything that anyone says on there. but it's like now I don't.
Lowest ratings. Great delivery time, but the quality of the materials is terrible. I'd send back if I hadn't accidentally soiled some tea on it.
Oh, God.
Soil some tea on it.
Why would you choose that turn of phrase? That's horrendous.
I'm sorely disappointed. The material is very thin, and you can see my top underneath it as and has shred after first wear.
This is the thing. Like, is that just because there's always some people that have a problem, and like they're just petty. But like, is that genuinely? Is that because the item sucks, or is that just that person's like fussy? Now I don't trust anything.
Made several attempts with Stefan to accept a return on T-shirt purchase, indicating they were American Apparel. Hellaciously rude and insulting in all his replies. As I told him, I never leave poor reviews unless someone truly earns it. Stefan earns this review several times over. Be wary purchasing anything from this vendor. Deceptive and rude.
This is it. So, like, is Stefan rude, or did that person just get an American Apparel? Because, like, what do they expect? That Stefan's, like, weaved...
T-shirts purchased indicated they were American Apparel. So is he saying that then? I think he's saying that they're not American Apparel, but it says that they were.
Okay, so they were supposed to be American Apparel, but they weren't. Okay, that's more understandable. It just makes me very, very sad because the platform's supposed to be for like makers, and they get drowned out as well. Like genuine people that make stuff.
Yeah. And based on that small amount of research, that does seem to be quite. Let's have a look at something that might be more. Let's look at earrings and see.
Anything electronics notorious as well.
I'm going to click on the first item again. So. This first item, this comes up as Etsy's pick.
Okay. This is the thing, this one was top reviewed.
This is designed by Silver Rain Silver.
Okay, so you'd expect them to have done the design, might be manufactured elsewhere.
We're excited to share that our designs are being registered with the US Copyright Office. If you happen to come across our design or image being used elsewhere, please give us a heads up. We're taking it.
See, this person said their designs were patented, which they're obviously not.
Well, they might be.
They're definitely not. I guarantee you they'll not have a patent for those for shirts.
Oh no, this is a different one. This is earrings now.
Oh right, yeah.
Handcrafted sterling silver jewelry. Welcome to Silver Rain, haven of handcrafted sterling silver jewelry, lovingly produced by our dedicated team. Okay. Our craftsmanship, our product, a blend of traditional craftsmanship and modern techniques, lost wax casting process, customer satisfaction. We've had it. So this one seems kind of potentially legit. It's got an entire like org chart on the About Us page as well.
See, you shouldn't have to do all this research, should you?
I don't.
And people like us love doing research.
Right, let's look at the lowest ratings and see what the complaints are.
Well, that's the thing. The ratings don't work because, like, how many other people before I bought my item left a 1-star review and then they got told, "We'll give you your money back if you get rid of it," and then they just took it down? Like, how many people have previously left bad reviews, but then the seller was like, "Hey, just have a refund and just get rid of, make the review go away."
So these all seem to be kind of basically as people, things being the wrong size compared, not the size that they were expecting, and things like, yeah. And,
so that's probably legit.
Yeah, a couple of things arriving damaged or breaking after a short period of time. But they've got 4. All right, does it give you an average? Oh yeah, 5-star overall rating, star seller.
Yeah, but like, if the seller can just bribe you to get rid of the review.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to see. I mean, this looks kind of legit. The t-shirt one I have my doubts about.
Yeah, it's like, Etsy are clearly fine with it. They don't care.
I'm curious, actually. I'm going to sign in, and I did actually buy something off Etsy not too long ago. It was my mum's birthday, and she needed a new laptop cover. And
I thought you were going to say you bought a laptop off there.
Yeah, it was weird. It said it was HP, and the logo looked a little weird, but yeah. No, it basically yes, I wanted to get. I didn't want to get just like some plastic, like
some piece of crap,
acrylic or whatever. Yeah, I wanted to get like a nice kind of sustainable laptop sleeve, especially not just because it's eco, but also my mum's kind of super into all that stuff. So I was trying to find like a Hessian or hemp made cover.
Yeah,
and I found this one. I ordered it from Hempnath. And to be honest, like the thing that arrived, I'm very happy with it. It's a nice cover.
Yeah.
So let's just have a look, see what they're claiming.
Did it come with like a UK shipping label and stuff, if you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember there being anything like iffy about it.
Yeah.
Environmentally conscious brand offering ethically sourced artisan-made products. Behind each product is a story. That's
the thing now. You hear all this and you're like, did they write that? Is it ethically sourced from an artisan?
The formatting is... no.
Okay, if the formatting's bad, that's probably a good sign.
No, the formatting looks good. Like that's all in a header. And then...
oh no, the formatting's too good. The formatting's too good for it to have been written by a human. I wonder if that's why your eBay listing for your iPad didn't sell.
Yeah, it looked too good.
It looked too good, and they were like, "This is clearly a scam."
See, these guys aren't claiming to be an individual, though.
No, that's it.
So, I guess...
and they do say it's artisan made.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you got, like, arrived from where they said it was going to arrive from, and, like, it was what they said it was. It just made me very sad that, like, Etsy have become... that I can't trust it like I used to. I feel like it's like...
well, there's no results
Amazon.
for Hempnath on Company House.
Maybe that's just their, like, Etsy name.
Yeah, maybe.
But, like, you shouldn't have to be thinking these things, should you? You shouldn't have to be like, oh, are they a Hempnath real, or are they just, like, some local cannabis dealers who are, you know, had some leftover stock there?
It's a different plant.
I mean, to be honest,
they're the same plant. They're the same plant family, but it's a different plant.
I know. To be honest, that would technically meet the criteria because it will be handmade.
Yeah. I don't know. Can you argue a plant's handmade?
Well, it was like
handmade by God.
Like if you were a woodworker, then the products that you made from wood would be handmade.
Yeah.
It just frustrated me that Etsy don't seem to give a crap.
Oh, they've got a website which is hempnath.com. I'm trying to find any information about what company is claiming to own this.
It's probably a good sign.
EU VAT rules.
It's probably a good sign if you can't find it.
Hempnath 2024. GDPR compliance. Maybe it'd be on there.
I'll see they're GDPR compliant as well.
Which means they must be in Europe.
Exactly, or they're just saying that they are. It's the thing, you can't believe anything. Is it even made of hemp?
Request personal data. Well, I could... you can use the link below to request a report which will contain all personal information we store on you. Shall I do that and see whether they do it?
You could give it a go. Maybe they won't be able to because you ordered through Etsy, but... We're doing deep dive investigative journalism.
We'll come back to you next episode.
Yeah, and we'll see if they're actually there. But yeah, it just made me very sad that the
consent on collecting data was not given.
Oh.
So does that mean they don't have any data from me?
I guess so. I guess because you ordered through Etsy rather than their website.
Yeah.
Well, we won't be reporting back on that. Unless Ethan tracks them down. Tracks them down to their if you next episode we'll dox them. When Ethan's tracked down the person's home address. Obviously not really.
You can apply to become an affiliate, and they need your YouTube URL.
Well, there you go.
Should we apply as a scrambled checksum?
No, don't, because I said we're going to dox them. In fact, maybe that'll be like, they'll give us an affiliate because they'll be worried about that.
Cookie days, commission type, commission amount.
Is this how much we want?
I don't know. I'm trying to find anything that could give us any information about the company that's operating this.
It at least sounds like your one is like a bit more legit.
Yeah.
Like it at least sounds like it's more likely to be legit.
Oh, there's a contact us form, but it doesn't give an address.
No, it's just like a website form.
Yeah.
I think your one sounds legit.
Okay.
My one obviously was not.
They apparently that his outline commitments to achieve our vision: strive for a greener globe, plant at least 1,000 trees every year, be carbon neutral, provide job opportunities to marginalized communities in Nepal, reduce extreme poverty in other parts of the world, partner and collaborate with like-minded individuals/businesses, always seek alternative sustainable solutions, drive change through best practices, be transparent about our production.
Okay, so that sounds like they...
I don't think it's conclusive to say that, like, never buy anything off Etsy. Just be careful, I guess.
Be more careful than you may otherwise have been, because it's not what it was.
Well, I didn't expect us to spend half an hour talking about Etsy. Jesus.
Becoming furious about it.
Things I was not expecting when I woke up this morning.
I was so mad. Well, I'm pleased you agree that I was right to report them anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. No. You have to. Otherwise, the systems don't work, do they?
Exactly. Well, they don't work anyway. But speaking of things that also that you also can't trust like you used to be able to, Google search results as a tenuous link into your topic.
Yeah,
which was Google, not Alphabet, which is what I hadn't realized.
Well, from everything I've seen, everyone's saying Google, not Alphabet, and usually they're very careful to say Alphabet, the parent company of Google. Usually,
I'd assumed Alphabet.
By everyone, I mean I've seen 2 YouTube roundup news shows talking about it. One briefly and one.
I've seen a third that's probably different that also said Google. Now that I think about it. We have confirmation.
Who was that?
Fireship.
Okay, yeah, I have no idea who they are. I think I'm trying to remember what the second one was I saw. I definitely. Oh no, it wasn't a roundup thing. It was Sam Time. He did a parody about it. And
there you go. Even more confirmed.
And then the Friday Checkout mentioned it, and then Friday News Roundup, which I watched just before recording.
There's nothing more. There's no more truth than a Samtime parody.
Yes, exactly. So, let's actually say what the thing is. So basically, the US Department of Justice has ruled that Google is an illegal monopoly, which is quite potentially quite tumultuous. It's obviously Google have been kind of facing various lawsuits and investigations in various different jurisdictions, including like the EU, for monopolistic practices. The EU has already kind of come down and been fining them and forcing them to do things like if you're in Europe now, Android phones have to ask you what you want to use as your default browser and what you want to use as your default search engine and stuff when you set up the Play Store, things like that. Basically, the US being Google's like home turf, and it potentially it's going to be like the US acknowledging it is potentially a big deal. I'm not a lawyer, but basically they've ruled that Google has gained and deliberately made actions to maintain an illegal monopoly over internet search and online advertising,
which is a big deal for them.
Yeah, which includes paying, I think they said billions to.
Oh, it was a huge amount.
To Apple, Samsung, Sony, and a handful of other companies to.
They pay Mozilla. Well, right?
Yeah, Mozilla was the other one. Apparently, actually, a significant amount of the funding for Mozilla is Google paying for Google search to be the default search engine.
Yeah, I'd heard that. It was like ridiculous because
so if it's
they don't really make money from elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so if it's ruled that Google aren't allowed to pay that money anymore, is this the end of the road for Firefox?
Yeah, that would be trouble. Ironically, then with Chrome,
that would be ironic. That would be ironic.
And then obviously Apple aren't going to be too pleased about it because that like however many billion they get for that's like free money.
Well,
for them.
Apparently, so according to Google, apparently as part of this legal investigation, one of the documents that was brought to light was Google actually did an investigation to see whether making search worse would cause them to lose market share, and they basically determined that it wouldn't.
So we're saying like making search worse on
just making search worse. Period wouldn't cause them to lose any market share.
I mean, they've been doing that themselves anyway, haven't they, for a while?
But even if they deliberately did it, basically, so they basically gone, well, we basically don't have to do any work anymore to keep anybody on our platform. Apple did an investigation into whether it was worth them setting up a search engine for their users, and basically concluded that in order to become competitive with Google, the payoff would take so long in terms of the upfront investment for the infrastructure and everything that it basically isn't worth it.
Yeah, because why would you when Google are already paying you like billions and billions just to...
Google themselves have estimated that to set up Google from scratch would be something like the Google search infrastructure would be something like $20 billion.
Yeah, I mean, how much did Microsoft spend on Bing?
Yeah, I don't know. But $20 billion is actually, interestingly, only just over, I think, what Microsoft spent in the last quarter on AI.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah. I think it was the last quarter.
Speaking of Microsoft, what's really interesting about this isn't this this accusation basically the same as what Microsoft got for Windows back in the early 2000s?
It is being compared, from what I understand, yeah.
Because they kind of...
Which was, I believe Microsoft was around Internet Explorer, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, because they were like... it was, and the whole thing that they had of their like business practices back then of the... what was it? Something enhance extinguish.
I don't know.
It was like the 3 E's or something, and it was like basically they copy your product, distribute it for free with Windows, and then put you out of business.
Oh, like Apple does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and they kind of got off... I think they just got a fine from that, because they didn't have to be broken up.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Internet Explorer had been spun into its own company? Oh my god! I wonder how long they would. Maybe it'd have actually become good.
Yeah, maybe without like the touches of Steve Ballmer looming over them.
Developers.
Can you imagine spin it off and put Steve Ballmer in charge?
Oh yeah.
Just Steve Ballmer running.
Bring back Steve Ballmer. We need to bring back Steve Ballmer. Microsoft was better.
Spin off Google Search. Put Steve in charge.
Yeah. Which one though? Steve Ballmer or Steve? Well, no, Steve Ballmer more like Steve Baller,
Exactly.
Or do we go for the Steve Wozniak of Apple founding fame?
No.
Woz is too pure.
Woz would like a tear would come down his face as he walked into Google's offices.
Yeah.
Or his first meeting with like, well, I guess if he was in charge. No, I think the first meeting he had with his like VPs, he would be like,
I would really love to meet Steve Wozniak.
Oh, I would too. You can pay for him to say something to you on Cameo.
Yeah. No, I'd love to just like bump into him at some like, I don't know, like some just like nerdy computer event and just shake his hand and just say,
yeah, like retro computing show or something.
I really hope that my impression of you as being not a total arsehole is accurate.
Yeah. Also,
and if it is, thank you for existing.
Also, would you be interested in a position as CEO of either Google Search or
Scrambled Ink or Tech a Bit Longer
or Google Ads? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Wozniak in charge of the ads division?
Woz is too pure.
No, but he'd be like, well, get rid of them. Just stop them all.
Yeah.
Just don't run them anymore. No more ads. Google Search needs to be free.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw, actually, going back to the story, but did you see that also Apple and Meta are under investigation for basically the same thing, but like at different stages?
Yeah, well, it's monopoly, but not in the same areas, right? Because like,
different areas. So Meta's for social.
I imagine Meta's is for advertising as well, right?
I'm not sure. I saw it as like social media, but like obviously ads is what funds that. So
yeah, because I think isn't Meta's ad business almost as big as Google's?
I'm not sure how. I don't think it's as big as Google's. It's big though. It's big enough.
Yeah. Probably the only thing that comes close to competing.
Yeah. So they're kind of under investigation for the same thing. So like, what's your dream?
Apple, I think, is for the App Store and stuff, isn't it? Basically, and like gatekeeping,
and like various other gatekeeping that they do.
Yeah, because I think like already the EU, they've been ruled an illegal monopoly in terms of, but basically only iOS, the iOS platform. Yeah. So not Apple TV, not Mac OS. I don't think even iPad OS is included in it. Where it really should. Yeah. Because like if they actually do have a monopoly over tablets.
Maybe it's because
but I don't think that's like deliberate though, to be honest. I think that's mostly just because like Android competitors' tablets were all complete dog shit.
Well, like playing devil's advocate, like are Google really, have they really done anything to monopolize search?
Yes, they absolutely have. They they've actively paid to make it basically impossible for competitors to break into the market by becoming defaults on everything.
I guess so, in terms of the paying for defaults. I guess if you took that part out of it, which is kind of unfair, but like, would anyone want to compete with them? Because they're so established and so like.
Yeah, but it wasn't always that way though.
Well, no.
Before Google, there were other search engines. Before Google blew up.
There were, but they weren't as good.
No, they were all crap, but maybe they could have got better.
As in, like
over time, if they hadn't just basically gone into non-existence because they just weren't making any money anymore.
I guess Ask Jeeves still exists.
Yeah, but it's been bought, hasn't it? They've all been bought by people, I think.
Yeah, various companies. I suppose it's like
the brand still exists. The thing doesn't.
Yeah, I guess these ones as well. Like, I don't imagine that they're going to get broken up, are they? They're probably not going to have to spin off. Kind of like the Microsoft thing, they'll probably get like a massive fine, right? And then, not a lawyer, by the way, it's just speculation, but like they'll get a massive fine and, I don't know, maybe they'll have to stop some of these defaults. But I don't see how does that not help them? Because like, you can't be the default on iOS anymore. They don't have to pay Apple.
Well, they're not allowed to pay Apple to be the default.
Yeah, exactly. So like, okay,
it'd be funny if Apple then had to pay Google to have Google as their search engine.
Do you think it'll be like
they have to license the search engine?
Do you think it'll be like Apple Maps, where Google deliberately waited, like delayed putting Google Maps on after the Apple Maps thing? Google weren't they like slower to like bring Maps back to iPhone?
I don't know, to be honest.
I'm sure it
wouldn't surprise me,
but like they deliberately like waited.
Oh, Apple Maps has a website now, apparently.
Oh yeah, it's gotten a lot better, I think.
Yeah.
It's not like the joke that it was.
No. When it first launched, it was awful.
For a while, I think. But it used to be that you couldn't use the web version of it unless you were on Mac.
Let's have a look.
That might have changed. Like the website.
I've noticed there's quite a few websites that have Apple Maps embedded.
Yeah, it's probably.
I don't think the website hasn't existed for a long time because it's beta.maps.apple.com.
Oh, maybe there's like a newer version of it.
Because I saw something, it was in the news a couple of weeks ago as being a big deal because it's not been available in a browser before.
Maybe because maybe I'm thinking of because I was thinking because I used it to like add a business to Apple Maps, but that's probably like just the like admin part of it, and you couldn't actually. Yeah, because I seem to remember I had to ask people to like look it up on their iPhone because I had no other way of making sure that it was looking all right from like a user perspective.
If they launch an Android app, I might actually use it.
Yeah, because like it would be like a credible alternative to Google.
Yeah.
Do you think it would like...
That would be quite funny.
Do you think you'd be able to tell that that most of the traffic data is fed by Apple users?
Yeah, because they're all around London.
Yeah, they're all going to like you try and see like traffic data to go to Aldi and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, it shows like green traffic, but then when you're actually driving down, you're like, wow, what the hell? This is like full of cars, but like it's not no data from anyone sat in that queue.
Oh no.
But yeah, like it'll be an interesting one. I don't see how this doesn't, because like you said, if they stop them from paying Mozilla, then they're probably gonna struggle.
Yeah, I wonder how it will work though. Whether like I don't know whether they'll be able to stop them paying. Like maybe like Google Europe will be able to pay Mozilla money because it's outside of their jurisdiction. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. Although if you were Google, you'd just be like, oh no, sorry, can't pay any more Mozilla.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you wouldn't. I guess you could do that.
It's interesting because I've heard people say that potentially the reason that they pay Mozilla is to kind of as an argument to say, look,
them from getting...
look, we're not a monopoly on web browsers because look, we like help fund Mozilla, which is an alternative web browser. Look, we're not a monopoly.
Do you think it's like how Bill Gates put money into Apple when they almost went bankrupt?
Well, when Apple almost went bankrupt, you mean?
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'm sure that Bill Gates, well, obviously it's Microsoft, but like. I don't know, it invested in some way in Apple because they were on the verge of bankruptcy in like the late 90s or something.
I know the original iMac shipped with Internet Explorer as its default web browser.
Yeah, that might have been like before it. I know that Microsoft like...
But that was when Apple were in trouble, but Steve Jobs had come back as interim CEO, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely Steve Jobs who like was CEO at the time of the Microsoft thing. Yeah, it was in the mid-90s.
Weird.
Yeah, I've seen it put as like, oh, Microsoft saved them from bankruptcy. I don't think it was quite that bad, but like...
I mean, Apple was like on death's door in the 90s.
It was bad, yeah. Things weren't going good for them.
If Steve Jobs hadn't come back, it probably wouldn't exist today.
Yeah, I forget what product they'd launched that was like the big disaster, but it was
more the lack of really launching anything new for a while. They kept trying to push they launched I think there was the Lisa, which was the predecessor to the Mac. So it had a graphical user interface, but it wasn't running. Mac OS didn't exist. It was running a different OS.
Which was running like Next.
No, Next was a separate company. So the Macintosh was released in 1984, I believe, because that's why they had that advert. There's like 1984 doesn't have to be 1984, and that was the. This is
the Apple II.
No, the Apple II was before. The Apple II was the second computer that they ever did, hence the name. Like before they were even like a big, proper, real company.
Oh wait, am I getting mixed up with the one that like Wozniak like was hand soldering?
No, that's the Apple II.
Yeah,
and the Apple, just the Apple computer as well prior to that. But
I'm thinking of the boxy one that was from that advert.
Yeah, but the kind of iconic like 80s, 90s Macintosh, which was like that beige box
With a
screen built into it and everything. But kind of like a vertical one, not the wide one with the screen on the left. The wide one with the screen on the left is the Lisa, which
I know
is
the one you mean.
Widely attributed to, basically it was really expensive. Nobody wanted to use it. IBM had launched computers with GUIs and stuff. And
the IBM PC basically.
Yeah, and was selling way better. Steve Jobs was effectively kicked out of the company. He went off and started Next Computing. And then in like, I think it was 90, then there was about a 10-year period basically, because it was like, I think it was like Steve Jobs was like 85 or 86. He was kicked out of Apple. And then he came back around 95 or 96 when
Apple, that would have been when they got
Apple bought Next Computing. And then the OS that Next was running, I think, then got forks and became Mac OS 9 or whatever it was. That's
what I was thinking of
Mac OS 8 or something. Whatever version of Mac OS that the first iMac ran, that launched in 1998, I believe, was basically Next OS. It became that. And then I think OS 9 was the PowerPC era. So that might have been the iMac actually. And then OS 10's Intel era, and then OS 11, which we have now, is the ARM era.
And then the next era is going to be the Apple split up.
RISC-V. It's going to be RISC-V. I'm calling it. Reduced instruction set 5 for the win.
But like, how are they going to do that when they get split up into 5 different companies?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I don't think they'll get split up.
I think it's certainly going to be interesting. I hope that Mozilla doesn't die a death and finds a way to keep going.
What will happen is all of the companies that depend on Google to currently exist, Google will get split up, they'll go bust. Then Google will get split up again because they're now a monopoly in the area where the company they used to support went bust. And they'll gradually just all break apart.
Do you wonder I do wonder whether, you know how Firefox has been the default browser on basically every Linux distro for forever?
Yeah, like, is there...
I wonder if, like, Firefox are actually doing anything to maintain that? Like I don't know, like donating developers to open source product, like distros and stuff.
Yeah, because Chromium's open source. Yeah. So in theory, you could have the argument that, like, oh, well, if you just wanted an open source browser, you could have Chromium. Yeah,
and I wonder whether that will change, because obviously there's that web browser that's kind of everyone's hyping up at the moment that you sent me, asking me what's it called?
That's a long time away, but yeah.
Could that replace Firefox as the default in distros? Maybe, and then I don't know. This could be the end of Firefox.
If it's good, I could definitely see, like, the name escapes me now, even though I was the one that sent it to you. But yeah, like, I could see that actually becoming like...
I wouldn't necessarily, if as long as something replaces it, I wouldn't necessarily be against it, because I know Mozilla haven't exactly been a shining example of a great corporation in the last little while. My reason for using Mozilla is basically because it's the only non-Chromium web browser on Windows, I think, at this point. I don't think there is anything else.
No, I don't think there is. Short of, I don't know, you don't know, because what would there be that's niche? Web browsers are really hard to make. So yeah, like, other than...
Yeah, because Internet Explorer doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Well, it does, but you can't. It's not being actively developed anymore. Edge ditched being its own thing really quickly.
Yeah, Opera's been Chromium for a while.
Yeah.
Can't get Safari on Windows anymore.
No. Not that you'd... I never understood why anybody did that.
No, Safari on Windows, but like, yeah, what else is there?
Oh, I'm trying to find the message you sent me.
But yeah, there's no other like web browser that I can think of that's like usable in the modern internet. That like you'd be able to...
Ladybird.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Ladybird. But I think from what we could tell, they didn't seem to have any plans for launching it on Windows, did they?
No. It was one of the FAQs, and they were like, no plans at the moment. If they do, it'll be years away.
Yeah, we don't have anyone actively working on Windows support, and there are considerable changes required to make it work well outside of Unix-like environments. We would like to go to Windows eventually, but not a priority. So I think it's going to be Mac OS and Linux, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, what
are they doing? Oh, it's not going to be on Android either.
Oh, did they say why?
We don't have anyone actively working on an Android or iOS port. More effort will be put into mobile once we have the desktop versions in a good state.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it'll just be Linux.
Well, there is a start on an Android port in the project repository. Mobile is not priority at the moment.
Oh. That's really interesting.
You said these guys are open source, right?
Yep, open source. It got forked from, I forget what the project was. But it was like I think it was a Linux distro where the idea was to make everything from scratch, like no libraries.
Oh, Jesus.
And they'd started making a web browser as part of their project. And then the web browser got forked off into Ladybird, and they've given up the thing of like...
I'll tell you what I'm forked off with. Windows.
Windows 11 specifically, is that?
Why can't someone fork Windows to be not shit?
Why can't someone fork Windows 7?
Well, do you remember? Have you ever heard of Windows 9?
No.
So there was a project that basically took Windows 8.1 and modified it to have basically a Windows 7 style start menu, and basically it was kind of touted as an alternative to Windows 10 because it had because obviously it was while Windows 8.1 was still receiving security patches, and obviously it had like DirectX 12, I guess. I think 8.1 did have DirectX 12 support, right? But Windows 7 didn't.
I have no idea on DirectX.
Windows 7 only ever went up to DirectX 11, so a lot of newer games and stuff wouldn't run on it. It never really took off, obviously, but...
Yeah. And I assume if it had done, it would have been DMCA'd into oblivion.
Yeah. And also is probably highly ill-advised to run... To be clear, I do not recommend in any shape or form running a modified or installing Windows from a modified ISO that you haven't modified yourself end to end, where you know everything that you've done.
Yeah, the key is that you want to install the original OEM disks from old versions of Windows that no longer get security patches. That's the play.
Yeah.
While connected to the internet.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think we've really got any more to say on the Google monopoly. It's very much a developing thing. Now, the kind of penalty for it hasn't been decided as of yet. It probably won't be decided for ages. So, but it's a step in the right direction, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully against monopolies.
Yeah. So, moving on, I guess, to the final topic. We've not got too much more time here.
Your Windows 11 frustration.
Yeah, it's mostly I just want to understand, how is Windows 11 so just crap? So half-assed. There's so many things in it that are so half-assed, particularly the settings, for example. They still have the new settings menu and control panel, and there's a load of stuff now that you click on in control panel and it just takes you to the settings, but information is just missing in the settings, or you can't control things through that, so you have to then find a jank way of getting into the settings. How is Windows 11 such a steaming pile of garbage and yet somehow still a better experience than any Linux distro I've ever installed?
Any Linux distro?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one that would give a better...
I've tried Mint, Pop! OS, Ubuntu, Manjaro, and KDE Neon.
What would be your argument to the people that say, I'm just playing devil's advocate here literally, but the people that say oh, well, if you configure this and do this and
here's my rebuttal. Despite how fucking awful Windows 11 is, and how annoying it is that certain settings get reset seemingly at random when there's an update, or sometimes even when I've not even visibly been told there's been an update. It, like, particularly audio settings is my constant peeve. Despite all that, generally speaking, anything I want to do on my computer just works.
Is this Windows you're talking about?
Windows, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be really, like, the UI might be leaving a lot to be desired. I might have to dig through a load of legacy menus to get it to work, but it works. And most stuff just works straight away.
Would you say that the difference would be, if you're going to like sum it up in an example, like on Windows, you want to do like an audio setting change, and like you open up the main audio settings and it's not there because it's this really basic, like it feels like you're on a tablet. And then you have to go like 4 clicks in and you get to like the old style menu from like the control panel. And then you're like, oh, here it is. And then you click what you want to change.
But then you make the changes and it works.
Whereas, would you say that Linux, you would be like, you'd open the menu and you'd see what looked like the setting that you wanted, but it would be like grayed out.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's weird. Why is it grayed out?
And it doesn't tell you why.
No. And you're like, well, that's weird. And then you Google it and all the examples you see are like that it shouldn't be grayed out. But on yours, it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, like, hypothetically, you install KDE Neon on a Lenovo 15, a Lenovo ThinkBook 15 G2 ITL, hypothetically, and you then go into your settings to change your trackpad settings. And when you go to trackpad settings, everything's grayed out. You then proceed to Google loads of stuff, find a load of information about it being something to do with there being 2 packages installed for managing the trackpad, and you need to uninstall one of them, only to find that when you try to see if that's installed, it doesn't appear to be installed, and nothing like it appears to be installed, even the one that supposedly is the right one to control the trackpad. You then ask ChatGPT in a move of pure desperation, not ChatGPT, actually, sorry, Llama, and it gives you a solution that works, and you're able to change your scroll direction on your trackpad to natural scroll, because only morons have it set the other way on your trackpad, not on your mouse, but on your trackpad. And then you think, okay, this is fine. And then you reboot your computer, you don't think anything more of it. And then you plug in your PS4 controller, and you're trying to play Euro Truck Simulator 2, streamed using Steam in-home streaming from your Windows PC. And everything's working fine, apart from the fact that every time you swipe on the trackpad on the controller, which is something I have configured for setting the cruise control and stuff in Euro Truck Simulator, it moves the mouse. And you're going through Steam, tearing your hair out. Nothing's set in the Steam controller settings for it to use the mouse trackpad. Then you just, on a whim, just decide to exit Steam completely. Oh, and what do you know? It still continues working as a trackpad. Oh, it must be something actually within Linux that's doing that. So I go into game controller settings, and there's absolutely nothing you can do there other than there's just a drop down showing you that there's a controller connected. And then you go into trackpad settings. Oh, and it's grayed out again. Hypothetically.
Oh. Yeah, it's like, what's the fix for that? Like,
I'm sure there is one.
Oh, there is, but it's not going to be like, that's not an easy fix. I'm sure it might be if you were like hyper familiar with Linux. But like, that's a high bar to entry. Especially if you need your user to switch from something else.
See, this is what I keep saying about Linux, though. It feels like you're looking at Linux, and Linux is this huge to get to Linux usage. It's all the way at the top of this huge mountain, and you're like, say, Everest, and you're at the bottom, and then you start climbing, and you actually get 90% of the way up, and you've just got the last little bit that you want to do. You've installed it, and you've and everything's worked that you've done. You thought, I've heard that it's all my apps won't work, but I've installed Steam and it's working great. I've installed Firefox. I'm able to stream all my stuff. My Bluetooth headphones are connecting. I haven't had to faff about with any drivers. It's just connecting to my Wi-Fi. Sleep's working fine. Like there's no obvious issues. The webcam's detected, and then you just go, I know. I'm going to use my PlayStation controller. And just that tiny little thing, that'll be the painfulest thing to get working. Or, oh no, I want to change one setting on my trackpad. And that'll be the painfulest thing to sort. Or you connect your Bluetooth headphones and they work fine for listening to stuff, but for some reason it's not detecting the headset function of your headphones.
It's just like a constant it's like constant small bits of maintenance.
Yeah. But it's never the big things. Like everyone always seems, when you speak to or hear people talking about the difficulties with using Linux, they're always talking about it. They're always talking about it as if it's like, like your Wi-Fi won't work, or you can't install a piece of software won't run. But it's never anything like that. It's always little things. Like for some reason, Firefox won't open this web page, or for some reason, Google Chrome won't launch, or for some reason my trackpad settings don't. It's always a tiny little thing. Like you're 99% there, and this tiny little thing, all you want to do is change the scroll direction of your trackpad, and you can't do that. Like it's never the thing that you think it's going to be, and that's the problem. Like until they get those simple, like you shouldn't. The basics, the complicated bits should be like doing complicated stuff like installing, emulating Windows software on it. That's the stuff you should have trouble with. Like that's expected to be trouble. That's complicated. That's not an everyday user activity. Everyday user activity, like configuring the sensitivity of your trackpad, should not be the problem at this point. Like I don't understand how this stuff isn't down by now. Like
it's how I imagine like owning. I feel like running, getting into running Linux, I should say. Because I think once you're like into the ecosystem, like you're fully like immersed in it, you're like, these kind of things don't bother you because you've already encountered enough of them that you've probably seen most of them before. But I feel like getting into it's kind of like buying a boat, where it's like you have these great boating experiences that you can now go and do, but you also have constant small maintenance and repairs to do to keep the boat able to be taken out and enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, okay, for context, before anyone accuses me of being a Linux hater, I ran Pop! OS for over a year on my laptop, as the only OS on my laptop. And I did have some issues with it, but most of those were down to the performance of my laptop being kind of limited because it was quite old. And I did actually like it. But there was a couple of things. My biggest problem with it was the package manager is on Pop! OS. And I've installed Pop! OS on higher performing machines as well to test it. And it seems to be the same. The package manager is just awful. It's really slow. It's really basic. It just lags all over the place. So that's my biggest complaint about Pop! OS. But I have like run, like during that period, I didn't have access to my desktop PC on a daily basis, so that was my main computer running Linux. So I have run Linux, everybody, before anyone tries to shoot me. And I would also say at this point, I would actually pay for a Linux distro if it just worked. Like in terms of like, if it had support, like if my for some reason my touchpad's not being detected, I can actually go to someone who's not going to go, actually me. Like I would pay for that as an alternative to Windows if I could actually run it instead of Windows. Like
a one-off like licensing, kind of like how Windows licenses, but not really.
Yeah, I would pay for it. I'm not using Linux because it's free. I'm using it because it's an alternative to Windows, and Windows is a piece of shit. But at the moment, there is not a single Linux distro that I've come across that can replace Windows on my main PC. And some of that is because I do gaming, and it's not down to Linux. It's because games aren't written for Linux, so they have to be run in an emulation or whatever, a translation layer like Lutris or Proton, and then anti-cheat software detects that as trying to run in a VM and then blocks it from running. But that's not Linux's fault. There's nothing Linux can really do about that. So I'm not going to count that. If I just had to use Windows for a couple of games, I mean, I wouldn't be happy about it, but I'm not going to blame Linux about that. I can't expect Linux to solve that problem, really. But yeah, if I would pay for a distro that was just stable and just worked in the same way Windows just worked, but without all of Windows BS as my daily driver OS, like
it's like the money that you would pay for that distro would go towards like
I would pay as much as I paid for a Windows 10 home license.
I think that I genuinely could see that. Like the challenge would be getting.
I would do it.
I think the challenge would be. I think a lot of people in the Linux community would be skeptical of it, so they probably struggle to get adoption.
I don't fucking care. The Linux community can carry on using their free and fully open source version of Linux. I don't give a fuck about like I'm open source is cool, but I'm not an open source diehard. Like I just want something that I just want to have a choice, and I want to be able to choose to use something that isn't harvesting loads of user data, and just like I just want there to be competition so that there's an incentive for the options that exist to not be shit.
I think it'd solve a lot of the problems as well with like the Linux distros that you talked about. Because a lot of it is just that, like there's not the people there who've got the time to do all this like polish.
Most Linux distros are developed for free by people. There's a few exceptions, like System 76 developing Pop OS, Canonical, Ubuntu. Like to be fair, like the bigger ones are developed by corporations for the most part. Fedora as well is Red Hat, I believe, isn't it? And then
they're more on the enterprise, so I think their kind of thing. But like just one that's got like a team, like enough. It makes enough from its licensing that you could potentially have like a team of people who would work to. You'd have like UX experts and UI experts, and people that are just going to do all this like the polish on it. To make it a good experience
and make it consistent as well.
Yeah, and that has a CEO that isn't like complete dickhead who's gonna do the whole like the way that Microsoft ended up going.
Yeah,
not to say that
I'm still holding out hopes that maybe SteamOS, when it finally is released for devices that aren't the Deck, the Steam Deck, or whatever it's called. Which doesn't seem to. I don't think is going to happen anytime soon because Steam doesn't really have any. Valve doesn't really have any incentive to do it at the moment. They have said it's going to happen, but I don't know.
Yeah, Valve time.
No timeline is really
between now and the end of the universe.
Yeah, so potentially SteamOS could be the solution. Also, I'm kind of holding out hopes potentially for the next version of like System 76 are doing a major overhaul of Pop OS at the moment, basically moving away from the GNOME desktop, and they're building their own desktop environment for it, which will mean it'll be way less reliant on Ubuntu, and they'll kind of become their own thing. And they're a company, they make their own computers that they ship that OS on. So,
cool.
I have some hope that maybe I'm kind of hoping that the next version of Pop OS, once that finally comes out, might be better. I don't know. I'm going to carry on like every year or so hopping around some distros to see how there they are. And it is getting better, to be fair. Like every time I try it, it is slightly better. But it's just
that little bit of polish.
I'd really hoped, like when I first started doing this was probably like a couple of years ago now, and I was really hoping that by the time 2025 rocks around and Windows 10 went EOL, there would be an option, but I don't think there is going to be at this rate.
No, I would be maybe 2026.
Maybe next year, guys, will be the next year will be the year of the Linux desktop.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, one day we hope. And on that note,
speaking of things that are coming one day.
Yeah. The next podcast after this one. But for now, this one is over. And we're going to try and do a smooth CTA for the end of this. Kieran, do you want to give it a go now that I've written it all out for you?
I'd love to. Yeah, this is where you've screwed me over with something here. So yeah, you can catch us. Yeah.
So where can people find our podcast?
Well, people can find us on Topics. Kieran's mad at it. No, genuinely. People can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, Audible, Deezer, Google Podcasts, parentheses until August 29th, YouTube, and YouTube Music. Wow, both of those. They can also find us on... Am I supposed to read the full URL?
Yeah, if you want a list of places you can find us that is limited to the ones that Spotify lets you put on your Spotify for Podcasters page, you can go to podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/scrambled-checksum. And if you want to find us on YouTube, you can find us on youtube.com/@scrambled-checksum, no space.
Yeah, please don't type those while you're in the car.
Yeah.
Unless you're not driving, in which case, type them in the car. And yeah, we'll see you every other Monday on those platforms.
Yeah, I still, every time we finish this, because when you say we'll see you, there used to be this podcast that I used to listen to, which had Answers with Joe, Everyday Astronaut, and Ben Sullins. They did a podcast called Our Ludicrous Future, and they always used to end it by saying, "We'll see you in Our Ludicrous Future." I always want to say that every time you say, "We'll see you." That's just, but it's
maybe they wouldn't notice if
right.
we just started saying it. So that we came up with that.
But the thing is, they do still do the podcast occasionally.
I thought the podcast was defunct.
No, it's not completely defunct. They just kind of do it annually now.
Oh, well, guys, let us know if we can have that if you're on.
We'll see you in our scrambled future. No, it doesn't, this doesn't work. Guys. Yeah, see you in the next. See you in 2 weeks. Every other Monday.
Yep. All right. See you next one. Bye bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.